worship music.
Yeah, music left church. Yeah.
I'm gonna get gnarly, man, if we get on that topic, man. I'm just not a very much of an evolutionist. I'm an old schooler, man, so I have to get past that sometimes. Anyway, another time, another story, another place. Let's do it.
Y'all ready?
Yes, sir.
Welcome to Backroads Truth, the podcast where faith meets melody. Hosted by ICMA Artist of the Year, singer-songwriter, Justin Todd Herod.
Thank you. In Jesus' mighty name.
Praise God.
And even let rednecks like me get on TV, so I appreciate the Lord for that, man.
Because we had such a wonderful conversation with George Hogan, who is, I don't know how I got him to do it, but we got him to come back, actually stay here, and just do a part two. And so, George, thank you for being back with us again, man. I had such a great time talking to you.
Great afternoon, man.
It has been.
It has been awesome.
You have really made my day, man. I mean,
hey, listen, I wanted to ask you a few questions.
Please,
Can I do that?
please. Oh,
all right.
Yeah, I'd like to be the interviewee right for a second.
Yeah, man. So, I mean, I know how opera was, and listen, I think we can both agree to the fact, and a lot of my friends out there, if they're listening to this, I didn't always toe the straight and narrow. I mean, but one thing that I did find in the world of opera is I really wasn't able to live my faith out there,
Wow, yeah.
And I was just wondering, country, when I look in from the outside in, you do have, song texts that, it seems to be, we're talking about Justin, we're talking about some of the other artists that do, and man, I love Be Still. I love that. That was awesome.
Oh, one.
Yeah. But, you look at a lot of those guys and they do sing about their faith,
Yeah.
Is that something that's accepted in Nashville?
Well, I want to be very careful how we answer this because I'm kind of more, as we said, a museum piece for olden ways. I like the old way of doing things. That's not reality many times. I think that with any musical genre, there's always an evolution that kind of takes place. People are never kind of satisfied sometimes with the old ways. There is a group of people. Can I say real quickly, here's the way I look at music. There's this chart in my mind. The chart has got like this sliver up here of people that kind of like music just as a background thing. It's like, it's just making noise and they're having something to fill up dead space. There's this broad band of people in my mind that, they like music's got a good beat, makes me feel good, makes me happy, I can dance to it. Then there's this lower quadrant of people who are really listening to lyrics. They're listening intellectually, spiritually, emotionally. They're connecting to the artist as the writer, the communicator. And that little band is what I've always been in. So with that being said,
That's cool. I didn't go to that band until I got older, just so you know.
Well, I appreciate your honesty. But with that, my answer is going to be I don't think Nashville is really allowing a lot of that nowadays because they're trying to hit that middle spectrum. And I don't mean that as a bash. To me, it's not right because we're trying to find ways to communicate with an audience that's going to be
that's the thing I was going to ask.
A monetized audience, man.
Is that your audience now? Is that middle band?
Not mine. But
well, I mean, the audience, I guess we could say.
Yeah, I think so. And so if you look at country music historically, there was Roy Acuff and the people of the Grand Ole Opry who always included a gospel song. You'd see Hank Williams, who certainly didn't mimic the lifestyle, but always wrote and did great gospel songs. You would see all these other iconic artists, Mother Maybelle, all these people that did gospel songs. Johnny Cash, iconically, went into prisons, and even though he kicked out floodlights and did bad stuff sometimes, he included gospel songs. So I'm saying it always was a main staple thing, but nowadays you just don't hear it as much, but you do, because some of the writing nowadays coming out from some of the people is saying it in a way like Craig Morgan, something about Sunday. What is a song, man? What I love about Sunday. And there's other songs that are doing it. I just think it's evolving differently a little bit. It's just changing, And so I'm going to say with me as an artist writer, I do Christian country, so it's always going to be at the forefront. But it's not always going to be like, preachy. It's going to be wrapped up in a story.
Yeah.
That if you listen to any of my records, and I got like 13 of them, some of them are as country as they get, but there's stories in there that are going to push the thought content toward this apex, which would be knowing God and seeing, yourself now face to face with the reality of, do you know God? But it's not going to come at you like a worship song or like a hymn. It's going to come like a standard story told country song gets delivered. So that would be my answer. My audience, I think, are the people that are maybe more that listening, that I'm listening to that bottom level of lyric content and stuff like that. And my goal was always, George, was that here's Billy Bob riding down the road. He's about to take the wedding ring off, and he's taking that last slug of Jack Daniels, and he's about to go do something. But all of a sudden he hears a song. Man, that's a cool song, but wow. I get it. It hit me. And my philosophy has always been, if you can penetrate the soul, which is the mind, will, and emotions, the next layer is the spirit, man. That's the next thing you're going to hit, man. But you got to penetrate the soul first, man.
Yeah,
the music does that, you know.
Yeah, and I don't think, listen, my upbringing is, I don't care what kind of music it is, God can move through it.
I agree.
I agree. So a lot of times I'd play characters.
I agree.
For me it was it was either the saint or the sinner. I mean those were my two roles.
Yeah, right.
I was either the padre or something like as a bass.
Yeah.
As Banali Jayotti, he was really funny. But he told me one time, he said, Giorgio, if you remember, just make you happy, okay? Soprano first, then tenore, then baritone.
Gosh.
Sometimes mezzo soprano, always last is bass. You remember this, you'd be very happy. So when you're talking about star a while ago, I nearly cracked up because there ain't no bass that's a star, man. So, but looking at that with all of that in mind, some people would say, man, George, how can you play Mephistopheles, which is the comedic devil, right?
Okay.
How can you play those evil guys?
Right.
Well, for me, man, I wanted to present just exactly who he is.
There you go.
He's your laugh along, drink along, great time buddy.
Yep.
And all of a sudden at the end of the night, when it turns midnight, he says, man, you signed the dotted line. Let's go.
Dude, that's a great story. And I'm not much of an opera in the know, but I do know that one. And that's awesome, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
so I think, and then when you're playing the Padre or something else, but I think we have a responsibility to bring that character out.
Absolutely.
Just like you're talking about, man. It could be just one word. It could be like when we were growing up, man, it's just, man, I mean, I know I loved to listen to Bread back when I was younger.
Oh, well, yeah.
That was such a beautiful.
I was a Bee Gees fan. I enjoyed that stuff,
man.
man.
Great. I mean, you think about.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, Bee Gees.
Right, I did, though. Those guys are great songwriters, man.
Yeah, I mean, so I think you get curious. Being curious is asking questions, right?
I agree.
You know what I mean? So, looking at just this, I don't know if you've been asked this question. I kind of listen to your intro and listen to your, and listen, I love the title of the podcast. It's awesome. And I think, so going back to the inception, the curiosity, what brought this on, man?
Oh, man, listen, I'm going to give you the short answer because we don't have time for the long answer. One of our producers, Jeff, he called me and he saw myself and our lead I'm a pastor as well now still. I'm on staff. I'm not a senior pastor anymore. I'm an evangelist more and a musician, minister, traveling troubadour, type thing. But he watched us on our live feed one night at church, and we were just going through the book of James, and we were just bouncing back and forth, shooting it real, man, keeping it real laid back. And he said, man, we need to do something like a podcast of that. And I said, well, listen, theology is something I enjoy, New Testament is something I enjoy, but I said, I just don't have the time. I do not have the technical savvy. And so I was trying to say a polite no because I said I really can't do it. And I already do a thing called Back to the Bible every morning when I'm able to. That's just Bible teaching stuff, which I love.
Okay, I got to get that web address too. So
what's that?
I got to get that.
Oh, I'll give it to you. It's fun.
All right,
I've done it for a while, and it's really a cool thing. It's a whole different thing than this. So just understand this is what it is. But when he started talking, I said, here's my terms and conditions. I was like, man, if you guys can do the AV stuff, the technical stuff, and I can be the host, I can do that. I can come in and just be me and just do what I do. So then we started thinking, how about content? How are we going to do this thing? Because I don't know. I'm not Glenn Beck, and I'm not this person, I'm not that person. So I said, at least I could pick up a guitar, and I've got 500 songs that I've written over the time that most of them made their way to radio and records, and I said I can talk about that. So it's kind of a
dude. I don't have 500 arias. That's impressive.
I've got a lot. I wrote songs for many years. I've actually been able to make a living as a writer. I got a few royalty checks that's helped out. Wrote some Southern gospel hits for some folks. We can talk about that on another show, maybe, whatnot. But here's the thing, man. I want to answer. This was a deal that what I hoped it would be a way that through writing, through guests, through portraying the songs and building stories off the songs and expanding on that we could make it Backroads truth. And what is the ultimate truth? I am the way, the truth, and the light. That's what my whole goal was. So I said that, George, so I can answer one big question for you. The only thing that motivates me really nowadays as an artist, as a singer, as a songwriter, as anything, is trying to lead people to that place where they may know not religion, but a relationship with Jesus, and that can be done through any art form. Let me stop for a second. You were talking about your role as Padre or the Saint or the Sinner. I received a role from some of these same people that are connected with these guys to play a character in a movie.
Right.
We're working on it now. And I was like, man, that's my childhood dream. But it was to play the villain. I mean, the bad guy. And if I'm going to get cast in anything, you guys, it's probably going to be the outlaw, you know. I mean, it's going to be the bad guy, you know. And I said, but here's the way we can now do something that would bring about, as you said, this guy getting saved and radically changed after being this completely 100-degree the other way outlaw villain guy, you know. So I think that's important in music, in any art, or in anything we do, is to realize that, you know, everything's going to come to this summit. And the summit is, how do we convey this message of hope to people in whatever we're doing? Because I want to shift gears for a second, because if we don't, here's what happened to me in music. I didn't go through the same kind of burnout you did. I just got to a place where I thought, this doesn't matter anymore. If all people are going to do is just be dancing, I'm not against it. I'm not one of those crazy Baptists, don't dance. That's not. I'm not like that. I'm not religious. But if it's really not about communicating and going to a greater purpose, I'd rather just go out and just hammer nails, man. That's me. And that's one reason why I've never been commercially successful, I think, because I just don't. I've turned down a couple of record deals. I've done a few things that probably shot myself in the foot. But I just don't want to be controlled by what to say.
Man, brother, listen, we've all done that. We've all self-destructed. You know what I mean? And that's okay.
Well, mine was not. It's not so much self-destruction. It's like I've done some things.
As far as what the world would see.
Yeah, that's what they would say.
What I mean? Yeah, absolutely.
But the motive was not because I didn't want success. I wanted success by my terms. Yeah. And my terms was I wanted to be the guy that showed up in the Walmart flannel shirt with the cowboy boots, giving out Backroads truth with a well-written song. But that wasn't really what people wanted, man. You know. Yeah. So commercially speaking, I never got that because I wasn't going to compromise some of the things. And I'm not, when your initial deal was, what about Nashville? I'm not even going to get on that tangent because I don't want to tick anybody off here on our program. But what I will say is that is to me what the summit of music is. It's not so much about technique, talent, yes, technique, trends, what's popular, how to engage with people to have a good time. It's more about reaching the heart and the emotion and the spirit of a person through writing a song that's going to reach that.
See, I think that's where you're right on point. So we can look at the forest, right, and not see the real tree, if you will. And for me, if you go through Scripture, if you go through as an artist, all different kinds of genres of music, right? Me as a health coach, the one thing that I look at is I try to meet people where they're at. God meets us where we're at.
Absolutely.
Right? And so I don't think any of that, we don't have to be that Pharisee out on the corner.
No.
That's not what I'm talking about
That's the other side of the spectrum. I get you.
Dude, yeah, absolutely. I've never liked that side.
Me either.
By the way. You know, I like the real Joe and you know, just but meeting people where they're at. And I think, you know, so that our speech is always seasoned with grace so that we know how to answer every man and woman, right?
Absolutely.
So anyway, but yeah, go ahead.
Let me throw a contrast on that, because you're right. I mean, I am to be self-righteous or to be try to be self-righteous, that Pharisee, that was exactly the thing Jesus opposed when he was on planet Earth. He was like, even called them vipers, snakes. He said, man, you guys, you're not going to find righteousness in yourself. And so that should be our message at the end of the day. And I'm glad you said that, because when you're doing Christian music, or like you said, maybe in opera, when you're doing Christian music, church music, sometimes you're going to run into that wall every now and then. So if you walk in there with tattoos and a guitar playing the blues and electric guitar, riding a Harley, I've been through that. I've been down that road,
Absolutely.
I've been down it many times, and I'm not even saying it bothers me.
My first church that I tried to serve in, the pastor said, listen, everybody liked you, but, you nearly didn't get the job. And I said, really? I mean, I'm a good musician. I'm a good choral conductor, everything else, right? And I said, why? I said, well, because of your opera background. So, I mean, listen, I didn't
man.
So, I mean, I think, yeah, you're exactly right.
It's crazy.
It is. And so for me and all my friends that I've made throughout, and yours too, man, it depends if I'm over here. This person over here may think I'm really far right. This person over here may think I'm really far left. But man, if my friend's over here, I'm going to be communicating with my friend there and over here too. It doesn't make me wishy-washy kind of guy. I'm just
no, it doesn't.
Know what I mean?
It doesn't. And I think like when Paul says there, he says, "I become all things to all men, so I may win some."
Absolutely.
That was his maxim, but his maxim was, "I'm not going to alter the truth to win some." So that's the deal. Jesus was the friend of sinners, but he never did the sin they were doing. He's going out there in Mark 2:17. Since we're doing Bible today, let's do it. He said, "I didn't come to call righteous to repentance, but sinners. I didn't come for the well. They have no need for a physician. I came for the sick." And so that was after being lambasted and lampooned by all these self-righteous people. Why is he hanging out with all these bunch of, dirty people? So my deal is that we can go in all of these places. I still play secular venues. I still play, secular avenues.
Important, dude.
It's important. But here's my terms and conditions. And this is where I think I would be somewhat annoying to some people. My terms and conditions, I don't mind doing Merle, Waylon. I love it. I love all that. I grew up on all that classic country. But if you want me to come, I always tell people, I'll come for minimum pay. But here's my deal. I'm going to do real stuff to your crowd. I'm not going to sit back there and entertain people. That's a waste of my time in lots of ways. And I don't mean that wrong.
Yeah.
Entertainment, by definition, is just holding one's attention for a purpose, trying to get someone's attention for the purpose. Here's the niche. What's the purpose? If the purpose is for me to be a star, or for me to feed my ego, or for me to be out there so people look at me or I can get a paycheck, my purpose is minimal compared to the purpose of trying to point people to the only message that matters. Right. How you package that. It doesn't have to be churchy. It doesn't have to be religious. It can be in a way that people can get it. But here's the deal. If we don't bring the truth in that message in, we really can go out to any venue and say, yeah, when I'm with these guys, I act this way. I'm not against that. But when I'm with these guys, what they're going to get is Truth, truth. And that, I think, in country music was prominent for many years. You're getting the truth in things, man.
Right.
And that included gospel truth many times. But so my big hang up, George, with music nowadays, and it's not, I know this is probably going to be a very unpopular segment. I'm sorry. My big hang up with music is because I think sometimes people will say that doesn't matter much anymore. What matters is how much can it make me and how popular can it make me be. But sometimes pain, tragedy, and truth and stuff and heartache is not popular.
Yeah, and I think
it's not popular.
I think you can cross that over in any business
you can
talk to.
You can.
I think at the end of the day, it's not what. Gosh, I can't even think who's her name. But it's not what you say that people remember. It's the way you made them feel.
I agree with that.
And so, I don't know. I look at a lot of now that I'm a health coach, for example, looking at man, I trained up for all those years to be an opera singer, right? I was going to be that till the day I died. And God had a different plan, and that's okay. Finally accepted that. And once you accepted it, it's a happy life.
Right.
But while you're banging it, it's not. But looking at Jesus's ministry, for example, and how a lot of times he healed people before they ever, came to him, right?
Absolutely.
And realized him. So, looking at some of that, looking for such a time as this, for such a time as this, where Justin is, for such a time as this, where I'm at. Mm-hmm. Where our producers, Jeff, Randy, all those guys, right? The people that are listening, where are they, right? For just a time as this, God has brought everything to this moment and prepared you for this moment. And so looking at that, I look at, man, how important is it for us to take care of our physical bodies too?
Well,
It is. And how those go hand in hand.
You're right.
We'll
talk about that, about your business, and we'll get back on my eccentricism, if you will.
No, man, listen, I'm there too. Listen, you'll lose your audience completely if I go there with opera.
But here's the problem, Backroads Truther people. If I become the interviewee, it's not good. So let me be the interviewer, because I'm a deep dude, man. I'm like my wife always tells me I'm a silverback gorilla that's very complicated, man, extremely complicated. And I think if I leave myself out of the interviewee position, maybe people will, that guy is strange, man.
No,
but
man.
We're covering some great truth today, man. Really are. We really are.
Sorry, getting rid of some of that. You were talking about your joints earlier. You get rid of the inflammation.
I know, man. Yeah, I've been.
Man, for every pound you lose, you take 4 pounds of stress off your body. Biologically, if you look at it, so you've got that glycemic index. If you don't mind me putting this in at the end.
Please do.
Most important thing right now is what's going on, is this relationship.
Amen.
It's what God brought us together.